In this video, we're looking at problem 912 in your book, and we are looking at the cost of equity. So we're going to compare the cost of common stock equity with the cost of new common stock equity. And when we look at the formulas, we can see right away that the only difference is in the flotation cost of issuing new common stock. And since you're subtracting it here in the denominator, the higher the flotation cost is, that's going to make the denominator in this formula decrease, which is going to make the overall expression or the cost of new equity increase. So we should expect to see a little bit higher cost for the issue of new common stock than our cost for common stock. So all we need to do is very quickly and easily, I guess, punch in these numbers. So the dividend per share is 7, and current price per share is $143, and the expected growth rate is 13%. So we plug those in, and we get a cost of common stock equity of 17.9%. Now you do this same thing for your cost of new common stock, except you also factor in right here your flotation cost per share of $4, and you'll get a slightly higher cost here. Now I want to go over the questions a little bit that I've got for you to answer here. The first one is a little confusing, so I'm going to help you out with that one. Why is the cost of common stock equity the same as the cost of retained earnings? Because you see, the book, they use these two terms interchangeably. Like they ask you right here, calculate the cost of the company's retained earnings, and you're using this formula for common stock equity, because retained earnings and common stock equity are the same. Now, why is that? Well, the best way I could find to explain that made the most sense was, let's jump back over here, this idea that retained earnings are part of the capital structure of the business, is what they have left over after they've paid everything, after they've taken out all their cost, and that's their retained earnings. And they are available, can be made available to the common shareholders as dividends, or that they can be put back or reinvested back into the firm to finance a capital growth or expansion, right? So the way you think about that is the cost to the firm is an opportunity cost. So if we look at the cost up here of common stock equity, that is the return that the stockholders are demanding. So they're not going to buy stock, they're not going to invest in your company, they're not going to give you capital to use unless they're going to be pretty sure of a 17.9% return. So the opportunity cost of you using the retained earnings and not returning it back to your stockholders in the form of dividends is this 17.9%. In other words, you need to be able to earn at least 17.9% on the retained earnings that you reinvest back into your company in order to justify not returning the retained earnings to your shareholders. I hope that clears that up a little bit. There's more about that in the book. It's just a little bit, it's just a little bit confusing when you think about, why is retained earnings the same thing as, your common stock equity, and just because it's the key here is opportunity cost. If you choose to put the money back into the firm, then you are giving up the opportunity to return it back to your shareholders. And then the other way around, if you return it back to your shareholders, you're giving up the opportunity to reinvest it back into your firm. Okay, so that's problem 912.